Michael, your first year at Edinburgh City, tell us how the ride has been.
Eventful. That's probably the best word I would use. No seriousness, Dave. It's been good, really enjoyable. I've had to be more flexible, more adaptable as a manager, particularly a young manager, and be able to keep the off-field stuff away from the training ground, away from the match days, which has been important. And I think it's been good because the club needed a reset. That was important because the foundations, the sustainability, the model we're putting in place now for the years to come for Edinburgh City, it needed that reset.
And since we're in this, the club's in a healthy situation right now, thankfully we can speak about, a little bit of what we went through. What was it that brought the opportunity up to you to be a part of it?
Well, first and foremost, it's my home city club, Dave, and it's probably the first club I've played for, or been at, managing, coaching, playing, whatever, that there's an extra kind of emotion to it, with a castle on the badge. Whereas most of the teams, no disrespect, I've played for down south or even up here, I'm born and bred in the city. So every time we put the tracksuit on or the badge on, it means a little bit more. And I think people that have played at the home city clubs will kind of understand where I'm coming from there.
And you've heard the old tale of, you've not grown up too far from here, literally stone's throw away in the corridors. And you had a story about, jumping the fences over here and playing a bit of football.
Yeah, listen, it was brilliant because it's almost full circle. I believe I'm back home, Dave, because I need to then spread the knowledge I've learned as a player, as a young coach, with some extremely bright brains in English football that have coached me over the years from many different clubs, many different divisions. So I have quite a good understanding of different levels. And it's important that I put that knowledge back into Scottish football, particularly for the group I've got at the moment. And when I look back at the last 12 months, and I say to myself, well, yes, there were certain things off the pitch we couldn't have influenced, but at the same time, it was a great learning curve, because I don't think there's any SPFL manager that's had that kind of year in his first year. So for myself, for my coaching staff, as I say, we've had to adapt quickly to the situation. But it's been good because, like I said, we've now got time to build on what we want to do. And that's not just the first team, that's the CAS teams as well, the youth teams, the pathway. And it's something we want to be known for here in the years to come, that the development of the young players coming through into the first team.
You've said that you've had a massive love of developing young talent, and you've worked in France, you've worked in the States, where developing young talent is paramount. Is that kind of where you got that little bit of a love for that? Yeah, I mean, listen, I've done it in London as well, back in, I think it was 2013. We started working with the lower level players to try and get them a kind of pathway into the professional game, which is always difficult. As you see, I spent time in France, I spent time in the States, looking at their models, looking at their coaching techniques, looking at the pathways for the youngsters, kind of 16 through to 25, and how that model works. And it's something we want to influence here at Edinburgh City, and we're passionate about. We're going to be implementing soon that, and I know a lot of teams down south do this, a lot of the Scottish teams are doing this now as well, where we want to implement the same style throughout the different age groups. And yes, we'll have to simplify the models a little bit for the younger groups, and it still has that kind of competitive edge with the enjoyment, which is important, and the style I want to bring, Dave. The ethos I want to play on a match day is important to me. I won't budge of that style, but I will be constantly adding different things to it, so that other coaches don't kind of pick up on it too quickly. But overall, I would say it's been enjoyable, and that's hard. That people might think, well, you've had a really tough time, how's it been enjoyable? And I think it's more the fact that we love football. And the players came in January, we were in a situation where we had to do what we had to do to survive, as you said in previous interviews. How pleasing was it to look at those proper players that you had last season and see where they've gone from then to now? It's
a good point you make, because, as I say, we've gone through 57, 58 players now. That's a lot in 12 months for any club. And for the lads that had to leave in December, not through choice, respectfully, but I think at that point it was good to see them all get a club within the first month or two. That was really important for me. Then you had the young group coming in from the 20s, and then we took kind of 5 or 6 loanees in, and I look back now and I look to see where they all are, and I think I'm right in saying that every one of the loanees now was playing League One football in Scotland, and all of them didn't have one professional game before they came to Edinburgh City, and that's important for me. Because I told all these guys, the best thing to do is come here. Because you're not going to come here and sit on the bench. You're coming here to play and learn as you play, and that'll develop you a lot quicker. If you're getting 10, 15 minutes here and there as a young player, and you're coming from the Premier League, you're not going to develop that quickly. But if you're getting a full 90 minutes and we can educate you and coach you and then send you back to your parent club a better player, that's what we're about at Edinburgh City.
And looking on now, you look at the situation we're in with the school, the Mahana's coming in and looking after the academy boys, and you don't see an awful lot of that within education. Within football is so important. You look at it within the professional setup at Hibs, who have teachers up there every day, teaching academy kids absolutely the same, and so many professional kids do. Is it important to you that they get that education regardless of whether they're at the top level or at elite level?
Yeah, of course. I think, and listen, Danny's brought a really good idea to the table. I like it. I like how he wants to integrate it with the football. I know he's been involved in Crystal Palace before at a certain level with the teaching. And education is important. And not just your on-the-field education from a football perspective, but the off-the-field stuff. And I think that's something that when the idea came up, it's been great because we've had new investment come into the football club. We're back at a home base at Oriam here, which is a fantastic facility, one of the best, if not the best in Scotland. Meadowbank's a brand new stadium. Obviously Puma coming on board with 17 Sports. And we start to look at all these wee pieces. Then we look at the 132 kids we've got on board for the youth pathway now, which we're growing month by month. And it's all these little positives that we're trying to build now to become a sustainable model for the future for many, many years to come, hopefully.
And this has been so important to you. You look at literally 10 months ago, the club was, you speak about it, I was on death's door, effectively. And a lot of people knew that. But you look at 10 minutes later, we've got castings, we've got a youth pathway and academy, we've got Oriam, we're in a healthy position in the league as well, and you must be sitting back and thinking we're on the right track.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention that from the chairman to the chief exec to the board to the volunteers to the fans to the players to all the youth guys, it's been a complete combined effort, Dave. It's not been me doing everything. It's been a lot of work, a lot more work than we kind of first thought it would be. But that's football in general. If you're going to kind of change a whole ethos and infrastructure of a football club, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time. And take my hat off to the board, because they could have quite easily walked away and the club would have gone under. And there would have been no more Edinburgh City as far as I'm concerned, because they wouldn't have been able to then react to that situation quick enough to keep their SPFL status. But they took it on the chin, and rightly so. And I believe it's going to make the club stronger. I believe, as I said to you earlier, it needed the reset to get to that stage. And for the new kind of board coming in, that came in the summer, there was a lot of unknowns to them as well. It's something we've not really spoke about, that these guys have not been involved at football on the professional level. So a lot of the regulation and rules you're probably not going to know. And like I said, they took it on the chin, which was great. They rewarded myself and my coaching staff for new 3-year deals, which was important to us, because we want to build something. And to give you that length of contract, it puts a lot of faith in our coaching staff, and they were happy as well, because I've now been relegated in 29 years of football. So I knew that was probably the hardest pill for me to swallow, because we knew it wasn't through anything we'd done. But as I said to you before, it's my city, it's my club. And there's a bit more than just managing a football team here for me. It is about setting up the pathway for the futures to come. And back to the first team, we're now trying to build something that's slightly different. We do approach games differently from most teams, I would say. We'd like to dominate possession. The style I'm putting together is a mixture from certain countries that I've learned in my football career. And at the moment, I can see it's causing a few teams problems, so it's enjoyable to watch.
And once we get to that settled stage, and we're there now, but it'll only improve. Do you think there'll be any chance of a friendly with Doncaster or any of these teams? Yeah,
listen, it'd be brilliant, Dave. And I think at the moment there's been so much focus on keeping the club afloat in the last 12 months. That it'd be lovely for us to go up or then to come down. Whatever clubs we played for in the past, it would be fantastic. Because there's always that kind of rivalry between Scottish and English football, which I enjoy. But I sit back and look at the last 2 months and say, right, now we can start getting our teeth into it properly. Now we can start implementing my style, my ethos. And I don't just, like I say, mean on the pitch. And we're having a meeting in a few weeks' time with all the youth coaches to start implementing, as I said before, how we do that at the different age groups, at the 18s, the 16s, the 12s, the 13s, because you have to simplify that model as you come down. But at the core of it, it has to be playing football my way, has to be. And it has to be possession-based. It's a high press. I don't mind other teams knowing that, because they've done their research already. And that will now need to start to progress down the levels, so that when these young guys do get into the first team, it becomes second nature to them that they've done this before at their other development age groups.
Lastly, what's the future look like for Edinburgh City, and what's your long-term goal for this club, and how far can you take it?
Yeah, well, I said before, Dave, when I came into the chairman and the board and the chief executive, my job was to get this club into the championship. They've already been in League One, so that's already been done. So for me, it was taking that stage further. And I know it's going to be, it might take 2 years, it might take 5 years, we don't know. But what I do know is we'll get this club into League One, we'll get this club into the championship, because the infrastructure behind the scenes, the new club shop opening up at the weekend, new investors coming on board, that we have a catchment area and a scouting network in place now that recruits very, very well. The summer we've recruited very, very well on quite a small budget. We've probably got the youngest team in the SPFL, we've probably got the smallest budget in the SPFL. But for me, it's about recruitment and coaching. That's the two biggest things for me. We don't need the biggest budget. What we need to do is implement my strategies and philosophies as this club progresses month by month. And it is very small steps. I mean, it sounds crazy. If I've been here 1 year, it feels like 3 already. And I said this a few weeks ago, the league position was false. We knew that because we're top of the possession stats. We've got 2 guys in the top goal scoring charts. We're top of the assist charts. And we've probably threw away 12 points in the last 2-3 minutes of games. That doesn't bowl with a team that's at the bottom or near the bottom of the table. That's a team that's creeping through the division. So I'm learning about the kind of 10-team leagues. I'm used to 24 down south, or 22 or 20. So that's something we're looking at more. Kind of the first round of 9 games and the second round of 9 games. And I'll be interested to see where we are after the next 9 games and how the players and how quick they can pick up on my ethos and style.
Thank you very much for the appreciation.
Cheers, Dave.